thanks for continuing on with your training here for the Marriage Mentor series here. We're tackling in this video the difficult subject of challenging behaviors, of red flags, and how to respond when these things come up at your table. So a little bit of a downer here, but this is a really important thing to equip you guys of how to respond. So let me begin by saying authenticity breeds vulnerability. In other words, as you get to know the couples at your table over time, as you build trust with them, as you continue to lead with authenticity yourself, it's just going to be a matter of times before a couple will share something with you that might be rather shocking about a struggle that they have. It may happen on the first week, it may happen on the third, fourth week, but usually sooner or later someone will share something. And so in this video, I hope to give you guys a couple things. One, I'm going to share because I think it's going to be helpful for you to know how not to respond, some things that you definitely should not do when someone shares these things. Give you some examples of that. And then I'm going to share with you some rather do's so that you can respond in a way that connects with our mission here at Hope to love people where they are and encourage them to grow in their relationship with Jesus. So here's some possible red flags that you might come across or some crises that may come up. And this certainly isn't an exhaustive list, but some common things that tend to come up in our classes. Infidelity, addiction to pornography, miscarriage, loss of child, or infertility. Maybe there's abuse, physical or verbal or sexual in the past or present. And again, this is certainly not an exhaustive list, but one of the things that I've learned in my short time in marriage ministry is that you really never know what's going to come up, what's going to be shared with you. And oftentimes, the shocking part is which couple shares it. It's often the couples that you think have it all together that will share something with you that you don't expect. And so we don't have time, nor would it be practical, because you wouldn't remember anyway, to go through specifics on how to respond with each specific thing that might come up. But I do want to equip you guys with some general solid responses that are appropriate no matter what a couple might share with you guys. So remember, it is not your job, it's not your expectation, it is not your responsibility to fix any issue in every issue that comes up in these classes. It's your job to love couples right where they are and encourage them to grow. And so responding in grace and truth, those are the key concepts that I want to give you guys as we go through these things. So let's start out with some of the things that you're not to do. And we're just going to create an example just to get your mind. Let's say someone at your table shared that they currently struggle with pornography, that they are addicted to using pornography. So first, on the do not do list, don't let your jaw drop to the floor and say, wow, I never dreamed that such incredible sin and brokenness could exist. So don't do that. Don't tell them, hey, just get over it. Don't tell them, hey, it's not a big deal. We all have our struggles. And then again, don't try to fix their problem right there on the spot. And, don't say things like, all right, what you ought to do is, or have you ever tried? Don't do that. And then also, do not allow everybody at your table to also chime in and give their advice on what they ought to do. It can feel very isolating when everybody's kind of piling on against you. Also, don't allow anyone else at your table to kind of, quote, steal the spotlight, to say, oh, you think that's bad? Well, listen to what I'm dealing with. Listen to my issue, and they kind of want all the attention turned to them. Don't feel like you need to give the perfect answer right then and there on the spot. There's a lot of times where I say, I don't know. And then lastly, on the do not list, don't be a jerk. Don't be condescending. Don't be judgmental. Don't be harsh with your words, overly harsh with your words in front of everyone in the group. There might be a time and a place for that, but it may not be right there on the spot, right after they had the guts to finally share what they're struggling with. So those are the do nots on the list. So here's the rather how you should respond list. So just going to kind of walk through a process. Again, let's imagine someone shared they're struggling with pornography. The first thing that you should respond, no matter what they're struggling with, is just a heartfelt, hey, thanks for sharing that. And then encourage their vulnerability, encourage their authenticity. And the second thing is this. I want you to affirm the negative feelings that they're expressing. Respond with some empathy. Like, I can tell that this is really painful for you, and I can tell it was even hard for you to bring up. So just affirm those feelings. Have some empathy in your response. And then again, rather than trying to fix it, the third thing that I want you to do is ask this. Ask, how can this group help tonight? And some common answers to that question, just to give you an idea, might be, hey, I just want you to listen to me. That it feels so good to finally come clean and to finally share this with someone for the first time. But most often, I hear, if you would just pray for me. And so before you do that, before you open in prayer, the fourth thing that I want for you guys to do, no matter what is shared, again, here's the example. Someone shared that they're struggling with pornography. You thank them for being vulnerable. You thank them for sharing. You respond with some empathy. I can tell that this is really painful for you. You ask, hey, how can we help tonight? How can this group help you? And then the fourth thing is remind them of the gospel. Remind them of God's truth. So truth and love. Your tone and your inflection and how you respond in this in these moments, this is going to be key on how they can move forward from this. So, maybe there's a particular verse that you want to share with them. Again, we're thinking of pornography. Maybe you would go to Genesis 2 and talk about how God, how He created man and woman to be in this perfect relationship with each other, and they had complete intimacy with each other. They were naked and they weren't ashamed, naked emotionally, physically, spiritually, and how God designed husband and wife to experience that together, unlike any other relationship on earth. But as soon as you introduce another person to that, even visually, even on a phone or a computer screen, that intimacy, the way God intended, is broken. Maybe remind them of Paul's words in 1 Corinthians 6 that we should run away, that we should flee from sexual temptation. Or maybe just point them to any specific verse that comes to mind. And maybe you're thinking, you know what, I don't have the perfect verse for this. And this is why memorizing scripture is such a key thing for you to do. But what I'd love for you to do is just remind them of who God is. Remind them of who they are. Remind them of some truth about God that you can communicate clearly to them. That God is a gracious God, that He's a loving God, and He wants to see them obedient to experience His best. So, again, thank them for sharing. Respond with empathy. That's the second thing. Third, ask how this group can help tonight. Fourth, remind them of God's truth. Again, refrain from trying to fix it right there. Just point them to the one who can. And then fifth, rather than saying, hey, what do you think you ought to do? The fifth thing that I'd love for you guys to do when someone shares something like this is ask, what do you think God desires your next step to be? And a lot of times they might have the answer already, and they've been avoiding that for a long time, and you just asking that will make them come forth with that response. They might give a very clear answer of what next step they should take. I should put some software in my computers. I should tell someone. I should have some accountability. Or they might say, you know what, I have no idea. I don't know what's next. And that's your opportunity to say, you know what, I'd love to get some time with you outside of this class. Can we just maybe get together for a cup of coffee later this week, or let's go get breakfast and talk more? And what this does is a few things. One, very practically, it gives you a little bit of extra time to gather up some feedback from some your trusted people, from your coaches in your class, or from other mentors of like, hey, this is what was shared, and you're not gossiping. Maybe you don't give all the details of names, but how would you respond? And then maybe this is your opportunity to look up what God's Word does have to say, so that you're ready and you're prepared to share that with them. But it also really allows them to know that they're not alone in this, that someone cares for them enough to pursue them and to walk alongside with them. What a strong answer it is to say, hey, I'm not sure what the next step is either, but let's figure it out together. Can we get a cup of coffee this week? What a loving response that could be. And so the last step that I want for you to take is to pray for them right there on the spot. Don't go around the table and make them feel super awkward with a long, drawn-out prayer, but simply and humbly and sincerely just lift up this request to God. Pray that they would experience His best when they're obeying Him. Remind them in that prayer that you're praying to a gracious God that's full of forgiveness, and then in Jesus Christ that we're fully accepted and fully approved when we put our faith and trust in Him. And then follow up with whatever you said you'd do. Reach out to them, send them a text or give them a call later that week and just check in. Let them know you're praying for them. What a loving way to respond when someone shares, rather than having your jaw drop and say, I can't believe you're such a sinner, or to thump them with the Bible. I think this points to our mission to love people where they are and encourage them to grow. So, one last word, and again, kind of ending on a downer, but I want to equip you with a response if someone tells you that they're having suicidal thoughts. So I want to just walk you through a process, and I pray that this never comes up, but it would be we'd be remiss if we didn't share this information with you. And again, I hope you never have to sit across the table from someone who shares this, but I want you to be ready if they do. So ask them. Just come right out and ask them, are you having suicidal thoughts if you're concerned someone might be? Don't worry that you're actually planning the idea of suicide by asking this question. Research says that has no bearing whether you ask them this question. If they say yes, that they are having suicidal thoughts, the follow-up question that I want you to ask them is, do you have a specific plan to take your life? If they say no, then I want you to encourage them in God's truth. Pray with them, and then help them set up a time to meet with someone from our care team or our care staff, and maybe you can even join them. What a powerful thing to say, hey, let's go together. It's huge to know that they're not alone. Maybe you help them develop a plan for a support team, a support system of people around them that can encourage them. And throughout everything, discourage isolation. Make sure that there are people checking in on them, and help them make even a list of people that they can call when they're having these thoughts. But let's say that they say, yes, they do have a plan to take their own life. Don't dismiss this. Report it. Take action. Call 911 immediately. And you might want to respond, hey, because I love you so much, you just shared you have a plan to take your own life. I can't not do anything because I love you as my brother, as my sister. I'm going to call and we're going to get some help together. And I'm going to be here right with you every step of the way. And I'd encourage you, if you're with them face to face, that you'd stay right there until help arrives. But know this. Whatever you're facing, whatever is shared with you, and again, I hope it's not anything remotely that serious, but know that you're not alone. You have a support system in place. There are coaches that are a part of your area of ministry that are there. Your first step is to turn to them for support. Hey, someone shared this. What do I do? Ask them for your help. They would love to walk alongside you as you love and encourage these couples. So turn to them for guidance. That's your first stop. Sometimes it would be appropriate. They might raise up things to me or to our care pastor or someone else on staff, and we're going to come alongside them as well. But know that you are not alone. We are all in this together, and I just want to end with this, with a little bit of encouragement. A reminder that marriage ministry is messy, but aren't you glad that we serve a God who is willing to enter into our mess? And so let's be willing as marriage mentors to be like-minded as Jesus, who set aside everything and was available and was willing to enter in to pursue us in our mess. And know, again, in short, we've got your back. We're in this together. Thanks for listening. I know it was a heavier topic this time, but if you have any questions, feel free to drop us a line at marriage@gethope.net. We'll see you next time.